It's Monday night, which means it's boat night. I've just finished work and I'm on the way to the workshop to go and have a couple of hours on the boat. And I've got myself a toy that I'm going to be unboxing and setting up, which is going to really help me in the bilges. We got on really well last week down in the bilges and got the steel work all prepped up and ready for a coat of paint, and identified a bit of an issue with some of the fiberglass in the bilges on top of the keels. So we can have a little look at that today, see what we need to do, see if we can get some prep work done to lay down some fiberglass. Anyway, here we are. So I'm going to park up, get unlocked, get changed, and crack on. There she is. Here we go. Right, let's get changed. Boys and their toys. All the men watching the channel will understand what I mean. I've got myself a new toy. Let's unwrap it. Where's my Stanley knife? So I've been struggling in the bilges when I'm cleaning in there to get all the water out. So I thought, why not? I'm going to invest and treat myself to a wet vac. Instructions, won't need those. I didn't think it was going to come in bits. We're going to have to put it together by the looks of it. Should be fairly straightforward. Some tubes. Put those there. In the machine. Now that is a satisfying switch. Maybe I better look at the instructions. Let's see how this thing goes together. This thing's inside it as well. I was thinking then we were missing some bits. Quite crucial bit. There's a floor cleaning bit with it as well. And the foam. Right, what's first? A Phillips screwdriver is needed. I think I might have one of those kicking around in here. I'll use one of my new ones. And screw it in. We're going to put the feet on. You got to love a new gadget. Like that. So the hose goes on there. There we go. Boys and their toys. So I went for the Guild wet vac, and I went for this one because there was three I was looking at. There was the Guild. This is a 1300 watt and a 16 litre capacity. Then there was a Wix, and there was a Screwfix Titan that I was looking at. The Screwfix Titan was 1300 watt, the same as this one, but it had a lower wet capacity. The Wix was a 1250 watt with a very similar capacity to this. And then this was the 1300 watt with the biggest capacity. So I went for this one, plus this was £41 compared to the Titan that was 39, I think, and Wix, I believe, was 55 off the top of my head. So it seemed really good value. It had good reviews, and I thought, well, to be honest, they're all much of a muchness, and I only want it for sucking water out of the bilge. And then I've got a really good heavy duty industrial vacuum cleaner for any other jobs that I'm doing, or if I want to connect it to some machinery, so like a planer or a sander or something. So for £41, you can't really go wrong, and I'm really happy. Right, let's see what we've got to do next and see if I can have a play with this. So let's go on board, up the ladder, onto the boat, and have a look at the steel and see how that looks now after a few days of drying. Down into the hole. It's a long way down. Right, let's switch the camera around and have a look. Well, that looks really good. For one coat of Furtan, that's brilliant. Bilges look revolting, but we'll come to that in a minute. Yeah, looking good. Let's have a look at the other one. Yeah, that's great. That's exactly what I wanted to see. That looks really good. Don't worry about all the run marks and everything. It doesn't matter. Yeah, I'm really pleased with that. Right, dilemmas now. What do we do next? The steel is cleaned off and I've got a rust protector on there. I've had to cut some of the floor up, i.e. the top of the bilge keel, because there's water trapped underneath, so I do need to get that clean and dry. I also want to maybe get a coat of paint on the steel before I start doing any fiberglassing, and I want to put foam into the holes down here. So what next? This is dilemma situation, because if I put paint on the steel, I then can't go in there and wash out the bilge. If I wash out the bilge, it'd be too wet to paint the steel, possibly, depending on how dry I get it. And I don't want to start putting foam into the holes until everything's washed and ready. So I think my next job has to be clean the bilge. I think I'm going to clean the bilge. I'm going to go and get some hot soapy water, come back on board, get down there, clean off all of the area down here where I had to cut the fiberglass on top of the bilge keel, and then clean out the rest of the bilges a bit, get my wet vac in, give it a good suck out so it's nice and dry, and then I'll have a look at the steel and see if I can get a coat of paint on the steel. It's only a really rough coat, it's not a final coat. All I'm trying to do at the moment is hold back the corrosion, stop any sort of flash rusting or anything like that coming through. So I'm really not worried about how it looks right now. I just want to get protection on there. So I'm going to go get some water and give these bilges yet another clean. It's going back down my ladder, all the way back down. It's quite a long way up to get onto the boat. It's actually started to dry just from being sat here. There's a little bit of water still sat in the bottom, but it's a lot drier than it was, but it's muddy. Look at that, it's disgusting and muddy. So I've got a sponge and a scouring pad. I'm going to go in, I'm going to get some water in there with the sponge. Nice soapy water. And then I'm going to go around with a scouring pad and give it a good scrub. Right, time to try my new toy. So I've got it on wet vac. I've took the filter out of it and I've put the foam on it, and we're all hooked up. First turn on. Oh wow, that's powerful. You hear that? That's really powerful. That's really powerful. Right, I'm going to go in here now and suck that water out. Let's see what it looks like. Oh, wow. Where have you been all my life? Right, so I've recorded this on time-lapse instead of ordinary video, which is a bit silly of me. And what I'm trying to say is that vacuum is absolutely fantastic. I don't know why I didn't buy one of those earlier, because that would have made cleaning the bilges so much easier the first time round. I am really happy. The bilges have come up really nice and clean. It worked very, very well. And some of the more observant of you will have seen that there are some cracks in the top of the keel. That's nothing really to worry about. That's the encapsulated ballast. So that will be a cast iron ballast encapsulated in resin. And those cracks are probably from where the boat has grounded out a few times, maybe some hard groundings when she was on a drying mooring, and the cracks have appeared. It's nothing too much to worry about, but what I do need to do is make sure that the cracks are 100% dry. Also, you'll notice there's a hole in the fiberglass. That isn't a hole that goes to the outside of the boat. That's just a hole that goes into the bilge compartment alongside it. Behind there is a little bit of foam, and then it's the main bilge. So that's nothing too much to worry about. But when I do lay the fiberglass skin down onto the base here, I will lip it up and cover that hole anyway, so that it's totally watertight. Anyone lost a spanner? It's an adjustable. One careful owner from you. If you want to buy it, drop me a message. That is so much cleaner. I managed to get almost all of the sludge off the bottom. I'm really happy with that. There's lots of staining down there, but I'm not worried about the staining. And the black drips you can see is just the Fertan rust converter, and that's fine. But I'm a lot happier with that. That's really nice and clean. And I've got in here as well and cleaned all this out. So this is now spotlessly clean. Again, lots of staining, but I'm not worried about staining. It's just got to be clean, which it is, and I'm really happy. No real cracks on the top here, just that you can see one in the light there, really tiny, and that's the only one that I can see. So that's good as well. Now I need all this to dry now. It's just moist now. It needs a good airing with a heater in here. But I'm really happy with that. That machine is unbelievable. I didn't record doing this because, well, it's a bit boring. And I've been under here as well and just given this another good clean out. I missed a bit there, look. So it's a bit of sponge. I've given this a good clean out. And under here as well. That's just all staining now. Not much to do under here, under the main bilge. There's an old fitting here, which I might try and get up, but it doesn't really matter. Under this one, this is the through hull for the paddle wheel, this one. And whilst it looks fine, it's solid, the fiberglass job around it isn't very good. And I want to have a closer look, because underneath here will be a nut that holds this in place, and I can't understand why somebody would fiberglass over that nut. So I want to have a little look at that and see what's going on. I'm wondering if it was leaking at some point and someone's just bodged a load of fiberglass around it to stop it from leaking, in which case I want to take it out. So I'm going to have a good look at it, at some point, not worried about it at the moment, and possibly cut all this fiberglass away and take this out and buy a new one if we're using the same paddle wheel transducers. Right, time to give this a clean out and an empty out. I did already, where is it? I did already empty it once, and it was black. It was absolutely disgusting. I'm going to take it back downstairs now and give it another empty and a flush out and give it a clean, so it's clean going away. And that's going to wrap up my evening on the boat, because it's now 7 o'clock and I need to get home for my dinner. So really good evening. We've got the bilges clean and dry. Not quite as much progress as I would have hoped. I'd like to have maybe got a bit of paint on the steel or something, but to be honest, it's better really that it all dries out properly before I start doing things like that. So I'm going to give this a clean and then head off, and you'll see me tomorrow night. And just like that, it's the following night. So I'm back on the boat and I've got my grinder ready with the flap disc on it and a better mask, because the mask I was wearing last time I was grinding the steel was rubbish. It was no use whatsoever. And a Sharpie. So the first thing I'm going to do is get down into the bilges, have a good look now it's all nice and dry, get some torchlight in there, and figure out exactly where I want to put the supports for the bilge keels and mark those areas with the Sharpie, so that when I'm down there grinding, I can make sure that that area is all nicely cleaned off and ready to accept the timber. So that's the first job, is let's get in there and have a look at this. All right, so it absolutely makes sense to put one here. I can attach it onto here, so it makes sense for maybe the support to come about that high, thereabouts. This is only rough. And then of course it will go down here. Let's see if I can zoom in a bit. Down here into the bilge. It doesn't need to go all the way down. And then up here, here, and then up this side a bit, and it would match up about there. That would be a good option for one of the supports. I don't need to worry about leaving a hole here for wires to go through, because I do have some holes that I can open up and use further up here if I want to run any wiring. So there's one option, and of course on the other side I can replicate that. It's dark in there at the moment, but I'll do that in a moment. So here I was thinking it might be quite nice to put one in the middle. Now, if I just move forwards for a moment, this is the heads are here. Again, I can use this bulkhead here. Here is the main bulkhead for the heads. So this is the bottom of it. Sorry, this isn't the bulkhead. This is the step that's in the heads. I can glass onto that. I can bond onto that. Don't want to go too high here, because I do have to bring hoses through for the toilet outlet and anything else that might be under there. So I don't want to go too high. So it's a tricky one, because it is going to block access to this section of the bilge, but I can always put a small inspection hatch in the heads just to the side, which might be an option, because it would be nice to put a stiffener across here, meet the hull here, down there to the bottom. We can go all the way across the bottom and then back up. That would be a lovely stiffener piece to put in there. So I think I'm going to draw that in. I can't hold the camera and get in there to draw it properly, so I'm going to draw that in now and then have a look at the middle. So there we go. I've put my marks on here, so I know just I have to touch this with the flap disc on the grinder just to clean it all up, so that it'll take the bulkhead support, bilge keel support, and then the same here. Decided to go this side of it because this is the encapsulated ballast here, so there's a lot of weight. So that's 3. So we've got 1 there, 1 there, and then another one there. Let's have a look at the other side. So here on the other side, I'm going to do exactly the same here. I'm going to draw that on now. I'm going to do the same here in the middle, and then something similar forwards, but slightly different because we haven't got the fiberglass step area to mold up against. Okay, so down here under the galley, I'm going to put one alongside this steel beam here. If you can see these pink marks, that's my Sharpie just packed up, so I'm using a pink Bilge crayon. This is where the support's going to be, right the way down into the bottom of the bilge, across there, slightly under there, where you can't see, up, and then it will come to the top of this and meet up here. So I want it to run basically with this beam down there. Now I've got some retabbing to do here where it's cracked, so that's quite good. I can tie all that in. And of course it'll be tied in at the bottom here as well, which is quite nice. And this is where the strengthening is really needed. I'm going to lay up onto here as well. So that should strengthen up that area really nicely. And then in the middle here, oh, you can't see it very well. I've done the same. That tabbing there needs to come off and be redone, but you can see I put some very rough marks in there. The bulkhead, the bilge keel support will follow, again, this steel all the way across there. So that's the plan. And today's job now is to start in the bilges with the flap disc, cleaning everything out and preparing ourselves for laying fiberglass. This is going to be really dusty and really messy. I'm not looking forward to it, but it's got to be done. So I'm going to get stuck in and just get it done and dusted. It's not fully dry down there. It's still quite damp in places, but it doesn't matter. It's fine. There's going to be loads of dust. The dust will actually help. It'll absorb the moisture. So I'm not too bothered. I can get the vacuum in there then and vacuum it all out, and then rags, and it'll be fine. So I'm just procrastinating now. I really don't want to go down there and start this grinding, but it's got to be done. I'm going to get my mask on and I'm going to get going at it. So on this time lapse, you can see I am using the flap disc on an angle grinder in the bilges. Excuse the fact that I can't film close up. The space is very, very tight. I can barely get the angle grinder into some parts of the bilge, let alone me, the angle grinder, and a camera. Well, that was absolutely horrific. That's the bilges all grinded down, ready for fiberglassing. And I did not enjoy a single bit of that. All the bilges are now all ground down and ready for fiberglassing. There might be a few little areas that I've got to get in by hand, the way I couldn't get the angle grinder in. But on the whole, it's done and it's ready. I am white. I'm absolutely covered. I itch where it's gone under my sleeves. It's really itchy. The mask is fantastic. So much better than the other one. Really good. Right. That's all I'm going to record for tonight because I need to go and get in the shower. However, the next video, I think we're going to be templating and cutting the bilge keel supports. The keel supports are going to go here where I've just ground, which I'm really excited to get done. So we're going to make those up and start coating those in fiberglass before fitting them. And I'm going to foam that void that's down here on the keels. So I'm going to get some polyurethane foam, expanding foam, and fill that in, finish the top, and then we're ready to start laying glass in there, which is really, really exciting. So that's about all for tonight. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give me the thumbs up. Pop your comments down below because I love hearing from you all. And I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.